The observation decks of the Council's orbital citadels stretched infinitely, a lattice of glass and alloy suspended above worlds that had long forgotten fear. From this vantage, we, ancient observers of countless civilizations, anticipated panic, chaos, the trembling of primitive minds. And yet, when the emergency broadcast pulsed across the galactic network, a sound like the shriek of a dying star, we saw something else. The Deathworlders have decided we are all valid targets, the envoy intoned, its holographic form flickering like a flame against the darkness of the council chamber. Counselors shuffled, appendages trembling, scanning data streams, calculating survival odds. Logic screamed, this should trigger universal despair. But our sensors, attuned to subtle cues, recorded a pattern that made the algorithms stutter. The humans did not panic. We watched as small units deployed from orbital docks, as if instinct alone guided them across the void. Fleets arranged themselves with an elegance that defied our simulations. Defensive grids hummed with energy, responding faster than any protocol demanded. And the humans themselves, bipeds we had long considered fragile, limited, walked among the machinery with calm precision, their movements ritualistic, deliberate. Each gesture seemed to whisper, "We will endure." A surge of admiration rippled through our observation chamber. Every strategy, every contingency we had considered adequate faltered under the sheer audacity of human improvisation. Their coordination was not algorithmic. It was organic, alive, unpredictable. And worse, hope radiated from them, infecting allies, inspiring determination in the hearts of species long accustomed to fear. We, masters of logic and calculation, felt something alien, a mixture of awe and dread as humans began to reshape the very definition of survival. In every flicker of their lights, every maneuver across contested zones, a question arose in our minds. How could such fragile beings resist annihilation so fiercely, so deliberately? The broadcast ended. Silence filled the council chamber, punctuated by the soft hum of observation drones. And then a single human transmission crossed the void, an encrypted pulse, carrying a signal of intent that no alien mind could fully predict. We leaned closer. The human race, it seemed, was awakening. The first ripple of inevitability began to spread. The void was silent. At least it seemed so to the untrained eye. Our sensors, attuned to the faintest distortions of energy and movement, told a different story. A pattern of motion that defied expectation. Humans were moving. No, they were striking. Against the Deathworlder scouting fleets, vessels small and ragged in appearance, yet radiating a cohesion that startled even the most seasoned observers, darted through space like sparks drawn across dark water. We recorded the first engagements with a mixture of disbelief and fascination.
Alien commanders aboard the Deathworlder ships muttered in tones that conveyed frustration bordering from fear. Their superior technology, shields, weapons, tracking arrays, flared uselessly against the humans' unpredictable maneuvers. Our analytical frameworks faltered. The humans split their forces, converged, reversed course mid-battle, and executed strategies that seem at once reckless and precise. A pattern emerged, instinct, guided by something deeper than calculation, shaping survival into art. Planets we had classified as secure, fortresses of trade, research, and habitation, became arenas of chaos. Humanity's shadow fleets landed, disembarked troops, deployed drones and adaptive weapon systems that reconfigured under fire. Explosions punctuated the void in silent flashes, yet every casualty was absorbed into the collective rhythm. Morale did not falter, it grew. We, the alien observers, cataloged this phenomenon in awe. Concepts of fear, fatigue, and surrender, constants in galactic warfare, were meaningless here. We noted patterns that defy probability. A small squadron of humans turned a collapsed asteroid field into a defensive labyrinth, rerouting Deathworlder missiles into the vacuum, while another unit infiltrated an enemy outpost using machines scavenged mid-battle, rewiring systems as if intuitively understanding the alien technology. And yet, despite the mounting losses, the humans advanced. Their movements had a quality that unsettled the Council, audacity, a willingness to gamble their lives, to endure suffering not for survival alone, but for something we cannot fully name. The council chambers trembled as reports streamed in. Every engagement, every victory and setback forced our calculations to reconsider the magnitude of human potential. Their capacity to innovate under extreme duress was unprecedented. What should have been a straightforward reconnaissance strike became a strategic nightmare for the Deathworlders. Algorithms that had predicted outcomes with 99.9% certainty failed. Every human maneuver injected chaos into the Deathworlders' carefully ordered war plans. And yet, there was method within the madness. We observed the humans adapting to the patterns of the enemy as if they could feel them in the void itself. When one fleet was nearly destroyed, others converged with uncanny timing, forming shields, decoys, and diversions no simulation could anticipate. Casualties mounted, yes, but every setback was a lesson, every loss transformed into advantage. These fragile bipeds, whom we had long underestimated, were rewriting the rules of engagement. As the humans pressed deeper, a ripple spread across the galaxy. Other species, observers, allies, neutrals, paused to watch. Some marveled, others trembled, but all sensed the same truth we felt. Something profound was unfolding. Humanity's strike was not merely tactical, it was symbolic, an announcement to all who watched. This species would not bow.
And then, from the edge of known space, a new signal pierced the void. The Deathworlders' command fleets were moving, larger than any previously recorded. Entire armadas converged toward the humans' positions. The Council's sensors flared red. Panic stirred in the corners of our minds, but our eyes remained fixed on the humans. Would they retreat, or would they, against every expectation, stand their ground? The void held its breath, and humanity advanced. Even as humans carved their name across the stars with audacity and fire, we, the silent watchers, noticed fissures forming in the galactic edifice. Alliances that had seemed unshakable now quivered. Species once allied with humanity faltered under fear or envy. Secrets once safeguarded, treaties once sacred, now flowed into the hands of the Deathworlders like water through a sieve. From our observatories, we cataloged the transactions, strategic data, coordinates of vital supply lines, and vulnerabilities of human fleets. The galaxy, it seemed, was eager to betray them. Yet humanity's response was unlike any precedent in galactic history. Where betrayal should have sown chaos, it instead revealed a new dimension of human capability. They anticipated treachery before it struck, countered it with maneuvers so precise they bordered on prescience. Diplomatic channels buzzed with activity, their envoys weaving webs of loyalty and trust across species who had previously regarded them as insignificant. It was not brute force alone that guided their hand. It was cunning, foresight, and a charismatic resolve that radiated through even the most fractured coalitions. We watched as humans turned acts of treachery into opportunities. A spy's infiltration became a trap, a stolen algorithm was used to mislead the enemy, and every misstep by their so-called allies fed into human strategy like fuel to a fire. Their fleets adapted mid-battle, their diplomats reshaped allegiances, and their scientists repurposed stolen technologies against those who had thought themselves clever. What should have been devastating, disunity and deceit, became for humans a symphony of survival. Chaos itself seemed to bend to their will. Observing this, we felt a tremor of disbelief. These bipeds, fragile in form yet unbreakable in spirit, were architects of their own destiny. Even as the galaxy conspired against them, humanity transformed disadvantage into triumph, confusion into advantage. We, masters of calculation and prediction, found our algorithms inadequate. No model could forecast the subtle, ruthless elegance with which they responded to betrayal. In the council chambers, awe and fear intermingled. What power was this that allowed a species so young, so vulnerable, to anticipate deception and strike back with such clarity and precision? Patterns we had long assumed universal, loyalty, fear, self-preservation, were bent, remade in humanity's image. Their resilience was not passive. It was active, deliberate, and terrifyingly intelligent. And still, the Deathworlders watched from the darkness, confident that fractures among the humans' allies would be enough to crush them. Yet, in every countermeasure, every trap laid, and every alliance reshaped, humanity demonstrated a truth the galaxy had yet to fully comprehend. They were not merely reacting to events, they were shaping them. Every betrayal fed their strategy, every weakness became a weapon. From our vantage, it was like witnessing a symphony conducted by unseen hands, chaos orchestrated with intention. And the humans themselves, fragile, mortal, yet indomitable, moved through the symphony with an elegance that both inspired awe and kindled fear. They were no longer simple survivors. They were predators in their own right, and every corner of the galaxy would soon understand it. A transmission arrived, a warning from a supposedly loyal ally, a coded message revealing impending betrayal on multiple fronts. Our sensors flared red as human fleets repositioned before the message had even fully decoded. Once again, they were ahead of expectation, orchestrating the next move before anyone could anticipate it. And in that moment we realized the humans were no longer merely fighting the Deathworlders, they were reshaping the galaxy itself. The first shadows of war among allies deepened, and humanity, as always, moved with unerring purpose. The first shockwave tore across the edge of human-controlled space like a pulse of uncontainable fury. Entire systems ignited, suns reflected in shattered hulls, and the vacuum itself seemed to recoil at the Deathworlders' wrath. We observed, as we always do, expecting the predictable pattern: panic, retreat, surrender. But the humans, they endured. Their fleets, battered and fractured, reformed with startling speed. Ships stripped to their skeletal frames were reinforced with scavenged alien technology, systems reprogrammed in mid-flight to anticipate enemy targeting, shields adapted dynamically to alien weaponry. Every loss, every shredded hull, became a lesson etched into the collective mind of their forces. From our distant citadels, we cataloged their maneuvers and felt a tremor of awe and fear, unlike anything we had experienced. How could such fragile beings persist, let alone innovate, when annihilation seemed imminent? Even planets under direct assault became instruments of survival. Humans leveraged environmental hazards, turning asteroid fields into mazes of deadly ambushes, igniting planetary storms as impromptu defense networks, and rerouting industrial systems to support rapid reconstruction. Each civilian, we observed, was transformed from helpless observer to participant: engineers, scientists, and medics, improvising tools and tactics under fire, converting despair into energy, into force. The line between soldier and civilian blurred, creating a network of resilience that no Deathworlder tactic could fully anticipate.
The council chambers trembled as data streamed in. Every algorithmic prediction failed. Our calculations, based on centuries of galactic warfare, were shattered by a species whose ingenuity refused to be contained. Human forces executed maneuvers that suggested not only adaptation, but an instinctive understanding of their enemy's psychology. Ambushes laid in one sector were mirrored in another, as if a singular consciousness guided their collective response. And yet, for all their brilliance, the Deathworlders pressed harder. Entire fleets converged on human positions, deploying weapons capable of sterilizing worlds. Flames consumed orbital stations, and the vacuum of space became a hunting ground. The humans lost territory, the humans lost lives, and still they persisted. Every retreat was temporary, every defeat transformed into knowledge. From our alien vantage, terror and admiration intertwined. We realized that humanity did not merely survive, they learned at the speed of necessity, evolving tactics faster than the Deathworlders could adjust. Their morality, camaraderie, and ingenuity became their greatest weapons. Even when despair should have crushed them, they fought with unity and innovation. Reports reached the Council. The Deathworlders, confident in their superiority, were hesitating, faltering, their algorithms unable to cope with the humans' unpredictable adaptability. And in the quiet moments between battles, the humans were already preparing, already improvising, already turning every loss into strategy for the next confrontation. Then came the reports from the frontier. A single human vessel, crippled and burning, had infiltrated a Deathworlder command outpost, reprogramming its defenses from within. The Deathworlders' own systems now threatened their own fleets. We leaned forward in our observation chambers, a chilling awe in every thought. These creatures, so young, so fragile, were bending the galaxy to their will. And in the shadow of the next Deathworlder strike, humanity stood ready. Amid the wreckage of human fleets and the smoke of scorched planets, one figure emerged, unassuming in appearance, yet radiating a presence that rippled through the chaos. From our observation decks, we recorded every move, every decision, every gesture, and the effect was undeniable. This human did not simply react, they orchestrated. Their audacity reshaped engagements before the enemy could comprehend the shift. Even the Deathworlders, confident in centuries of superiority, faltered as they calculated probabilities that no longer applied.
the heroes' tactics were simultaneously reckless and inspired. In one system, a fleet presumed lost under overwhelming fire rerouted through an asteroid belt, converting debris into both shield and weapon. Entire squadrons followed, improvising in unison as if guided by a singular will. Their leadership was a contagion, spreading courage and clarity to humans and allied species alike.
Engineers on damaged ships devised rapid repairs mid-battle, medics marshaled civilians into tactical support, and soldiers executed maneuvers that had previously existed only in theoretical simulations. Each victory, each survival, reverberated through the galaxy. From our alien vantage, awe surged alongside apprehension. The humans, so fragile, so mortal, were proving capable of shaping events on a galactic scale. Observers from other species took note. Fleets hesitated, strategists recalculated, and the once untouchable Deathworlders began to question the rules they believed immutable. The heroes' actions were emblematic not only of personal courage, but of the collective will of an entire species. Their audacity inspired humans and aliens alike, forcing allies to act beyond expectations, forcing enemies to reconsider the scope of human ingenuity. In the midst of the heroes' campaign, a seemingly impossible maneuver unfolded. A Deathworlder dreadnought, thought invulnerable, was captured and redirected against its own fleet, using a combination of human engineering and psychological insight into the enemy's command protocols. Morale soared where despair had once reigned. Even the Deathworlders hesitated, stunned by the audacity. The Council's chambers recorded our reactions with uncharacteristic tremors of anticipation. Never before had we observed such a species bending circumstances with such precision, resilience, and creativity. This was not mere survival, it was a revelation. The hero's courage radiated outward, a beacon in a galaxy teetering on the edge of devastation. And still, even as the humans advanced, the Deathworlders regrouped, preparing a counterstrike of unprecedented scale. Our sensors picked up the movements, the calculated precision, the inevitability of the next confrontation. And yet, in every calculation, the hero remained one step ahead, a pivot of strategy and audacity. From our alien perspective, this moment was a turning point, not for one species, but for the balance of the galaxy itself. Fragile mortals, underestimated for eons, were demonstrating a power that could not be denied. And the question hung in the void. Could even the Deathworlders withstand the force that had now coalesced in a single extraordinary human? The heart of Deathworlder space was unlike anything we had cataloged before. Entire regions of reality seemed bent under the weight of alien ingenuity. Planets whose surfaces shifted unpredictably, oceans that convulsed with unnatural life, and skies thick with storms of psychic energy designed to shred the minds of intruders. Bioengineered monstrosities patrolled orbital zones, their forms more nightmare than biology, and fleets of autonomous warships move in synchronization that defy algorithmic prediction. This was the Deathworlder sanctum, their apex of creation and terror. And yet, the humans advanced. Our observation decks recorded their approach in awe. Ships cut through the distorted void with precision that belied their vulnerability. Fleets moved as if alive, each vessel anticipating not just the enemy's attack, but the environment itself. Asteroid belts that shifted like tidal currents, planets whose magnetic storms could scramble entire navigation systems. Humans adapted in real time, recalibrating weapons, reprogramming defensive arrays, and even harvesting energy from psychic storms to power shields. Every action displayed an instinctive comprehension of a realm hostile to all other known life. Ground assaults were equally astonishing. Human strike teams deployed via drop pods into zones we would have deemed lethal. The terrain itself fought them, flesh-melting gases, psychic distortions, and gravitational anomalies designed to shred bones and minds alike. Yet they moved with a coordinated elegance that appeared almost choreographed. Engineers rerouted environmental systems to serve as cover, medics formed triage lines in places that no species could have survived, and combatants adapted their tactics with a speed that suggested instinct had been sharpened by necessity into prescience. Every casualty, every setback became a lesson embedded into the collective psyche. From our alien vantage, the human resilience was mesmerizing and terrifying. They endured horror after horror, yet their morale remained unshaken.
There was an audacity in their movements that suggested they viewed Deathworlder monstrosities not as insurmountable, but as challenges to be solved. Where other species would flee, humans advanced. Where others would falter, they recalibrated. Where others would surrender, they improvised with a clarity of purpose that shook our understanding of survival itself. Even the Deathworlders began to hesitate. Their overconfidence, cultivated over eons of unquestioned dominance, faltered under the humans' relentless ingenuity. Every trap they laid, every psychic weapon unleashed, every bioengineered abomination dispatched was met not with panic, but with adaptation. Fleets reconfigured mid-battle, soldiers repurposed alien technology, and leaders coordinated attacks across vast distances in ways that no telemetric analysis could predict. We observed one particularly harrowing encounter. A human battalion, cornered on a planet of acid storms and jagged terrain, seemed doomed. Their vehicles melted, communications flickered under psychic interference, and their numbers dwindled. Yet one human commander, faceless from our sensors, yet unmistakable in presence, led a desperate counterstrike. Using scavenged Deathworlder drones, improvised weapons, and the very storms themselves, the humans turned a near-certain massacre into a decisive victory. The Deathworlders' own constructs were turned against them, and the humans pressed forward, claiming territory that should have been annihilation. Throughout these encounters, cooperation transcended culture, species, and individual limitations.
Humans worked seemingly with allied species, synchronizing fleets, combining tactics, and sharing knowledge in real time. The idea of hierarchy blurred. Every decision, every act contributed to the collective goal. Casualties were absorbed into the system, lessons extracted and deployed instantaneously across battlefronts. Where other species might see chaos, the humans orchestrated order, a symphony of survival amid the most incomprehensible horrors. We, alien observers, recorded with a mixture of fear and awe. The humans' instinct, intellect, and courage coalesced into something unlike any civilization we had cataloged. Their endurance reshaped probability. Their ingenuity made the impossible routine. They fought with a tenacity that bordered on recklessness, yet it was never blind. Every movement, every adaptation, every audacious strike was calculated with the precision of intuition honed under unimaginable pressure. In the central system of the Deathworlder core, a fleet of human and allied vessels confronted the Deathworlder flagship, a leviathan larger than any star, its hull rippling with biopsionic energy, its weapons capable of annihilating entire fleets with a single salvo. From our perspective, the humans should have been vaporized in moments, yet they coordinated an assault that seemed impossible. Some vessels drew fire as decoys, while others infiltrated the flagship's systems via cybernetic interfaces. Ground teams dropped on adjacent moons, sabotaged energy relays that fed the flagship's weapons. Every maneuver synchronized across space, time, and enemy response, demonstrating mastery over chaos itself. Casualties were staggering. We recorded hundreds of vessels destroyed, thousands of lives lost, but the human spirit did not waver. Every loss was cataloged, every error transformed into tactical insight. Morale surged where despair would have consumed lesser species. The Deathworlders, despite millennia of assumed supremacy, hesitated, recalculated, and began to falter. The flagship, once an unassailable symbol of omnipotence, now faced systems turned against itself, weapons repurposed, and strategies it could not anticipate. And then came the signal from the human commander at the core, a synchronized strike designed not merely to destroy, but to dismantle the Deathworlder command network from within. Our sensors recorded the pulse traveling through ships, systems, and planetary networks, a human-designed cascade of destruction and adaptation that rippled across enemy lines. The Deathworlders' own orders became confusion, their omnipotence undermined by ingenuity they had dismissed. We watched, transfixed. The humans, fragile, mortal, underestimated for eons, were demonstrating a capacity that challenged every assumption we had ever held about survival, courage, and strategy. Their triumph was not yet complete, but the trajectory was undeniable. They were pushing further, adapting faster, and enduring more than any species could imagine. They were proving, in real time, that survival was not enough. They were capable of shaping the outcome of galactic war itself. And as the flagship shuddered under human ingenuity, we realized something terrifying. The humans were no longer simply fighting. They were teaching the galaxy a new law of existence. Even the Deathworlders, confident in their invincibility, began to recognize it. The core trembled, and humanity advanced. The final battles unfolded like storms of fire and steel, consuming systems that had long been thought untouchable. From our observation posts, we watched human fleets advance into the jaws of annihilation, each vessel a fragile beacon of defiance against the Deathworlders' relentless fury. Entire armadas risked obliteration to protect civilians, orbital outposts,
and one another. The human strategy was not calculated solely for victory. It was for survival, for loyalty, for honor, and for a principle so alien to most species that we struggled to name it. Sacrifice became the currency of engagement. Smaller fleets drew enemy fire, luring the Deathworlders into ambushes, while civilian transports slipped through corridors of devastation. Human soldiers held forward positions at the edge of obliteration, delaying assaults with ingenuity and courage. Engineers welded defenses in real time, repurposed weapons mid-battle, and medics moved where no one could survive, salvaging lives with determination that defied logic. From our alien perspective, it was awe and terror intertwined. This species, so fragile in form, so mortal in constitution, was reshaping the battlefield with sheer will and audacity. The Deathworlders, confident in their overwhelming might, faltered. Their formations splintered under human improvisation. Their psychic assaults failed to anticipate human ingenuity. Their bioengineered monstrosities, once unstoppable, were neutralized by traps laid from within the humans' ranks. Every act of courage, every moment of selfless sacrifice, fractured the enemy's morale. Algorithms that had predicted victory with certainty now sputtered and failed, unable to accommodate the unpredictable adaptability of humanity. Even as ships were lost, even as entire planets burned under the weight of conflict, the humans pressed forward. They reclaimed worlds thought irretrievably conquered, restoring order, repairing fractured alliances, and establishing new networks of cooperation across the galaxy. Civilian populations, inspired by human bravery, took up roles in reconstruction and defense. Where despair might have consumed others, humanity converted loss into leverage, death into strategy. We observed the culmination of their audacity in the central engagement. Human forces, battered and bloodied, faced the remnants of the Deathworlder command fleet.
With precision and unity, they executed maneuvers that turned desperation into a decisive strike. Enemy ships were corralled, systems seized, and command notes destroyed from within. Entire sections of the Deathworlders' fleet turned against one another as humans manipulated captured assets and exploited weaknesses invisible to any other species. From our alien vantage, the achievement was both inspirational and terrifying. A species that should have been extinguished, written off by probability and logic alike, had not only survived, but redefined the rules of engagement, survival, and warfare. Their resilience radiated outward, transforming despair into a beacon of hope and victory into a statement. No species can be underestimated, no potential dismissed. The final pulse of battle echoed through the void. Deathworlder forces, fractured and leaderless, retreated to the edges of known space. Systems once thought lost flickered with lights restored by human hands. Alliances, previously fractured by fear or betrayal, were reformed, strengthened by the humans' courage and ingenuity. Their triumph was not clean. There were scars across the stars, fleets reduced to skeletons, but it was complete. Humanity had endured. Humanity had prevailed. And in that moment, we, the alien watchers, recognized a terrifying truth. This fragile, mortal species, underestimated for millennia, was now a galactic force unlike any we had encountered. They had turned desperation into mastery, chaos into order, and sacrifice into triumph. Their story was no longer one of survival, it was one of transformation, a proof that courage, unity, and ingenuity could bend the galaxy itself to the will of those who refused to yield. The Deathworlder's shadow receded. Humanity's light burned brighter, unextinguished and resolute. The galaxy, for the first time in eons, understood. Something new had awakened. The dust of war drifted across systems once consumed by fire and fear. From our orbital citadels, we watched as humanity, scarred, bloodied, but unbroken, emerged from the chaos. Their ships, though battered, glimmered like beacons. Their fleets moved with purpose, tending to worlds devastated by conflict. Civilizations that had once dismissed them as fragile bipeds now paused, awestruck and uneasy. The calculus of survival had changed. What had been predictable, linear, and quantifiable was now rewritten by the resilience, ingenuity, and courage of a single species. From our vantage, every act of rebuilding was a testament to a determination that defied logic. Humans repaired fleets while constructing new alliances, healed fractured worlds while fostering trust among one's wavering allies, and even amidst the scars of death,
radiated an unyielding hope that spread outward like light through the void. Their civilization, we realized, had absorbed the lessons of annihilation and transformed them into power.
Innovation under pressure, courage against impossibility, unity in the face of despair. These were not mere traits. They were a force capable of shaping the future of entire systems, even galaxies. The alien observers among us exchanged cautious analyses. Systems had recalculated, strategies rewritten. Humankind had redefined what it meant to endure, to survive, to lead. Where once probability had favored their destruction, now it seemed to bend to their audacity. Even species long considered invincible regarded humanity with a mix of respect and fear, recognizing that this species had transcended mere survival to become architects of destiny itself. And yet, in every human endeavor, there was no arrogance. They rebuilt, quietly, methodically, yet their presence carried a resonance that no civilization could ignore. The galaxy had been reminded that life, even in its most vulnerable form, could wield power beyond comprehension. Observing them, we sensed the birth of a new epoch, one in which humans would no longer be underestimated, where their story would echo across the stars for generations to come. As the final reports flickered across our observation arrays, we recorded with a sense both somber and exhilarated. The humans were not merely survivors of war, they were the shapers of the cosmos's unfolding narrative. A species once counted out had become a force that could not be ignored. And in the quiet glow of rebuilt worlds, we knew the galaxy had awakened to humanity.